According to the UBS Chief Investment Office, we are on track for an economic soft landing. If you're a business leader, you might be thinking, okay, but what's next? Today, we are talking to those business leaders. How will the soft landing impact them? How do economic trends differ for them versus investors? And how are they the same? We're going to talk about that right now here on UBS Trending. Hi, everybody, and welcome to UBS Trending. I'm Anthony Pastore. Thank you for joining us. Today, I'm joined in the studio by Jason Draho and Paul Shao. Great to have you guys join us. Good to see you. This report that you both put together, Jason, let me start with you. It's designed for business leaders, but we're broadening this. I think there's a lot of information today that's good for a general audience. But let's talk about what's in this report that you and Paul have been working on and why it matters.
So ultimately, the genesis of it, that a lot of the client meetings I do are with people who are business owners, they're senior executive companies. They care obviously about their investment portfolio, but a lot of times they're almost more focused right now on what's going on with my company, my business. How do they make sense of the economic environment as they make strategic and operational decisions? So a lot of the kind of rationale for the report is like we're already doing for house view material, all this research on the U.S. economy, different aspects of it, financial markets. Instead of sort of like driving it this way towards an investing conclusion, let's kind of pivot it to some extent. Think about what's the economic and the market sort of backdrop that's going to be relevant for business owners who care about things that like what matters for my company. And so that's really kind of the genesis of it. Taking a lot of market and economic content that would be relevant for everyone, but try to position it in a way that helps people think, if you're from a business perspective, how does this matter for my business?
Right. I took a look, obviously, through the report before today, sitting down with the both of you, and it's quite informational. So, Paul, just break it down for us. I mean, there's things like the macroeconomic backdrop and outlook. There's merger and acquisition kind of activity information in there. Tell us what's in there that an audience should be aware of.
So there's a lot of things that we think business leaders will find interesting. We're calling this report the CEO Macro Briefing Book. So we want to touch upon a lot of different subjects in a very digestible way. And in that spirit, we broke up the report into 4 sections. A macroeconomic outlook that provides a tactical update to business leaders. A deeper dive into operational considerations. That's a deeper look into the consumer sector, labor markets, financial conditions, as well as real estate. We have a markets and deals section that provides an update on things like IPO activity, M&As that have been a bit slower in the last couple of years, but are starting to pick up now. And then we go into more politics and geopolitical risk.
Terrific. Jason, the markets section in the report itself, it seems to be more focused on corporate activity and even more about individual sectors rather than a specific outlook for equities. Why is that? Why did you choose to do it that way?
Well, ultimately, these clients or business owners in particular, they're thinking about what does this matter for my company? What kind of investment decisions do I want to make? So understanding how the M&A environment is playing out could impact if they're thinking about an exit opportunity. What's the demand for companies out there? Also looking at for IPO activity, that can be a good indicator of like, well, how much money is available for like companies in the private sector in terms of can I raise capital? Is there money kind of flowing into private markets for growth companies and venture capital investing? This can impact how I think about raising capital, things of that sort. So instead of gearing the market discussion, how equities are doing, how interest rates are performing to lead to an investment decision, it's ultimately what does this mean for the context of me thinking about raising capital, buying a company, selling my company, things of that sort. So that's really what the market section is geared towards, helping think through those kind of decisions and what environment it's going to be like for something like that.
Okay, great. Something that I loved in the report, the way you both put it together, you used odometers to kind of explain where we were macroeconomically, what the conditions are like. There's also this really interesting heat map. Talk about those with us, if you don't mind, Paul.
We think that this report really appeals to a broad audience, and in that spirit, we really want to make visuals that accurately capture a large amount of information in a very intuitive way. So for the odometers to open up the macroeconomic section, we want to figure out what's a good way to say, okay, this is where we are, this is where we used to be, and this is where CIO thinks we will be in the next couple months. And should readers want to find out more about the reasoning, why we think these things, they can flip another couple pages to really show the insights and reasoning behind our assessment. We also use heat maps to open up operational considerations. And the reason why we use that, because we think that it's a really great way to really harness the power of several economic and financial market indicators, consolidate them into an intuitive way that business leaders can say, okay, so for example, for the consumer sections, overall, it's running quite healthy, but there are pockets of, there are some cracks that people should be aware of, and we think heat maps are a great way to identify these things.
You know, one of the things that you talked about earlier when you're looking at the operating environment, it's talking about the consumer spending health, and it looks like right now, things are pretty healthy. There's a lot more economic data that we're looking over the next couple of weeks and months, inflation data, things like that. So as you're also thinking ahead, what's next for the report and what's in the pipeline?
Sure. So one thing that we're quite proud of the report is that this is the collaborative nature of it. We really want to make sure that this is useful to FAs and clients. So even before we started the report, we went through a round of feedback with FAs about what they would want to see. Having published the report a couple of weeks ago, we're going through another round of feedback, what works, what doesn't work, increasing, getting the word out, doing things like trending, so spreading the word at UBS. And then perhaps most importantly, that was the Q1 edition. We're planning to release the Q2 edition in late April, so please pay attention to that.
Terrific. Gentlemen, thank you. Yeah, obviously there's a lot that you have to track along the way, quarter to quarter, so I'll be looking forward to seeing what you come up with next, and obviously having those conversations with our financial advisors who have business leaders and owners as clients. Great way to get some real in-the-field information from them. Great job. Thanks, gentlemen. Good to see you.
Good to see you,
Paul
too.
and Jason, great, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us. There's lots more information on this topic, plus a whole lot more by visiting our Insights website at ubs.com/views. Plus, you can follow UBS on all the social media channels, including Instagram. Follow at UBS Trending for all the studio's content that we post there. And as always, if you have questions, please make sure you're talking with your financial advisor. Until next time, I'm Anthony Pastore. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. And remember to keep your eyes on what's trending. We'll see you soon.